Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So I am going to be transplanting a Japanese Skimmia today. So this was a plant that's a rescue. So it was planted at a home that is being currently torn down to be rebuilt in a very nice area. So they had quite a bit of established shrubs and this one was going to be destroyed. So I decided I was going to rescue it because I love rescuing plants. It's a beautiful specimen of Japanese Skimmia. And I've actually never had a Skimmia in my garden, and I thought this is a perfect chance to give it a try because I'm basically just not really out of pocket anything, just my time and effort. And I did get this a couple, more than actually 2 weeks ago, and it has been raining and muddy and messy, so I didn't have a chance to really do anything with it. So to keep it alive, what I had done is I put it in a bucket of water and just kind of hope for the best that it would survive. So it's been in this bucket of water, like I said, for over 2 weeks, and I'm very surprised that it's still actually giving off beautiful fragrance, and it looks a little worse for wear, but not too bad, surprisingly. I kept it in my garage, which is kind of a darker, cooler environment, and I was kind of worried about the lack of light, but these plants are shade plants, and I think it's going to do really well. I just wanted to kind of figure out where I wanted to place it, and what I decided is that I'm going to be putting it in a pot close to my front door. So I figured that's a good spot because I want to take advantage of that beautiful fragrance. So I figure if I put it by the front door, then it's something that a lot of people can enjoy when it's in bloom. And even when it was in the garage, like every time I opened the garage door, I could smell this beautiful fragrance. So that's like the primary reason. Also, because it is a shade type of plant, our front door is a covered porch here, so I think although it does get some sun, I think it'll do really well in the front. Last reason is because the plants I have in this current pot by the front door, they have been doing the best. I have a hellebore in there that did bloom the first year, but it didn't bloom subsequently. Like, it has new growth right now and I can see new leaves coming up, but it didn't bloom. So I figured that might do better in the landscape. And then I also had I think it was a tiarella or a heuchera, like a foam flower maybe. That one doesn't really seem to be doing that good there. I don't know if it's going to come back or not. So I figure that's what I should get done because it's finally a nice day and I don't have to worry about a muddy mess. And this is something that I've been needing to get done because I really want to save this plant. So let me show you this beautiful Japanese Skimmia. So here we go. You can see this beautiful plant. You can see it's a pretty good sized shrub. I think this is pretty much its like mature size, and it's like about 3 feet wide and maybe 2 to 3 feet tall. And you can see I've got it in this bucket of water. Its blooms are a little bit faded, but it is still giving off a fragrance, and it has really nice glossy green leaves. I'll show you that. Really nice color. And you can actually even see some new growth here. See that? So overall, like, some of the leaves are starting to yellow, which I will clip off, but overall it's doing pretty well. So I'm very impressed that even though I just left it in this bucket of water in the dark garage for over 2 weeks, that it's still hanging in there. And I'm very hopeful that it will survive the transplant. All right, and I just wanted to show you where I'm going to be transplanting into. So I have this pot right by my front door here. And in the past, I've had Brunnera in here. I've had this hellebore. This hellebore actually bloomed very beautifully for me in its first year. It did great. But this year, like, it did come back with fresh growth. Like, these leaves are new, and it just didn't bloom. So I think it'll do better off in the landscape. So I think this is kind of the perfect pot to put my Skimmia in, and it'll be a wonderful fragrance to enjoy when people are coming and going from the house. So I think there'll be enough room in there, but I am going to take out all of these plants and kind of give it maybe some compost or refresh the soil before I plant it in there. All right, so I'm all set up here. So I'm going to be removing the plants, and I thought I would just put them in my wagon here because I'm going to be removing a good chunk of the soil as well. So I have lots of room in the wagon for soil and the plants. I will try to transplant this hellebore. I'm not sure about the tiarella or foam flower, if that's a survivor or not, but we'll take a look at the roots and decide later. And then I've got my plant here. I might have to trim that, but we'll see. And one other thing I wanted to mention is a lesson I learned recently, actually, is that when you do bring a plant from another garden into yours, it's always good to quarantine it. And I had a recent experience where I had bindweed come in on a container with a rose, and luckily the rose remained in the container, so I was able to catch that bindweed before it was planted into my garden. So I was very grateful to learn that lesson. And with this plant, I actually am going to be kind of doing a root wash. Like, there's no soil on the roots right now, so it's going to be completely washed out, so there's no chance of anything being introduced into my garden. And this was quarantined in the garage for over 2 weeks, so I'm not worried about any kind of pests or anything like that. So first task is to remove a lot of these plants and soil, and we'll go from there. So I just wanted to pause here because I did manage to take out the plants and remove some of the soil. I was able to get quite a bit of soil with my hellebore. They don't like their roots disturbed. So that is, I think, will transplant quite well. This one I have popped into the planter. And one thing I want to mention is I think this will work because these shrubs are quite shallow rooted. So there's not that many roots and they don't go that deep. So I think it's going to go quite well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top it up with a mix of fresh compost and fresh soil and just chop it up, and I think that'll be that. So here's the soil I'm going to add to this container. This is called Black Gold Moisture Supreme Container Mix. So because this is outside, I think it'll probably get less water. It'll just get watered when I remember. So I think Moisture Supreme is probably a good idea. It says ideal for patio pots, which is what this is, hanging baskets, window boxes, and other large containers. So it is a water holding formula with core, I never can say that. And it doesn't have any peat in it, so that's always good. So think this will probably be a good option to use in this container. You can see it looks like it has pretty good drainage as well. It has a lot of perlite in there, and it's a good top up for what's already in there. So sorry, I just read the back and I didn't want to misinform everyone. So it says that this product is a blend of sphagnum, peat moss, tree bark, coconut coir, perlite, and dolomite. So it actually does have some peat moss in it. It's not peat moss free. So just wanted to correct that. All right, so I've got the soil in there. You can see it's looking really nice and rich, well draining. I patted it down, tried to get rid of any air pockets, made sure not to bury it too deep, the plant, but I did leave a lip for watering, so when I water, it won't come over the top. I also have enough space to add a thin layer of mulch or compost around the top to just add some additional nutrients for the plant. Now at this time, I also have the option of trimming this plant. So I could do that. There's no real front or back because my pot is actually on a pedestal that has wheels, so I can roll this pot around. So usually what I do is when it's looking like, you know, it's gotten too much sun on one side, I just flip it around. So there's no real front or back, but there is a natural kind of on the back side, looks like on this other side here that there is a little bit more space. I'll show you around here. So there's a little bit more of a gap here to access watering and whatnot, so I might face that front. So yeah, now I'm just going to take a look at it and see if I want to trim anything. I might trim off this branch in particular just to give it a more rounded shape, or I might just leave it because it is just been transplanted and I don't want it to go into transplant shock. So just maybe leave it for a bit and let it settle in, and then I can always do the trimming later on. But yes, it's been a joy working with this plant because of the beautiful fragrance, and I had to like dig my face in there. The fragrance is just very nice and pleasant. I think it actually is going to be better if I do trim it because it'll have less foliage above to support and focus on root development if I do trim it. So let me get my secateurs and let's do that. All right, I'm pretty happy with that shape. I don't want to over trim it, so it's giving off a lot of pollen. My hoodie's covered in it. But generally, I took out that one arm, and I feel like that's a very pleasant rounded shape. So I think I can slide it back into that corner and see how it looks. Okay friends, so I wanted to show you something I just dug up in my garage here. I've got this Miracle Grow Quick Start. It's a planting and transplant solution, which is supposed to help your transplants get the nutrients they need and help with root development and blooming. So I guess it's kind of equivalent to Biotone, which I see a lot of people in the United States using. Biotone is quite cost prohibitive for me to get here. So I did get this quite a long time ago. Personally, I don't really think it's necessary. I think, you know, since I have it, I may as well use it, but I wouldn't specifically recommend it. I don't think it's needed. Like all of the things that I've transplanted and not used this on have seemed to work just fine without it. So the only reason I'm using it is because I actually just want to use it up and I happen to have it. So I'm gonna be putting 1/2 a capsule into 1 gallon of water and then watering my plant with this, just because I have it on hand and it won't hurt, I believe. So may as well use it up. And here's a shot of the back for you. The formulation, it is 4-12-4 in terms of strength for the fertilizer. And yeah, it says that you're supposed to pour the diluted solution around a new planting to settle the soil and to feed the roots. Flowers and vegetables require a cup or 8 ounces of prepared solution, and larger plants require several liters. So you're supposed to repeat it every 7 days. I don't think that's really necessary. And then you can just go onto your regular fertilization schedule. But in any event, if you're interested, this is called Quick Start, and it's readily available here in Canada where I am. And I'm gonna be using it on this shrub, especially since the shrub is not edible. And I figure it can't hurt. So 1/2 cup of this into 1 gallon of water. All right, so here is my Japanese Skimmia shrub, planted, watered in, trimmed. I think I've set it up as best as I can for success, and hopefully it survives. It's been through a lot. I think the only other thing I could do is maybe trim it a little bit more, but I think I might hold off on that. There's no need to do it all at once. I can sit with it here for a little while and give it a few days, see how I like it, and then always trim more off of it later. But so far, I'm very happy. I think it looks really nice in this pot. I think it's a perfect spot here by the front door. It's got this gorgeous fragrance, and I think it's going to be enjoyed here for a lot of time, much more so than the other plants I had in here before. So quick postscript here. I transplanted the hellebore right here in front of this pear tree. I wanted to find a shady spot for it, and a spot where I would still be able to kind of see it. So I think it'll do really well here. I have a Jacob's ladder behind it, and I have a pulmonaria right next to it. So I think it's a perfect shady spot for it. It might be a little bit too dry for it, but I think it should be okay because it'll be winter mostly when it blooms. So hopefully it'll be okay. And I planted it a little bit high because I'm gonna try to mulch around this area. I noticed that I have hosta shoots coming up, and I figured I should probably try to weed and mulch before they come up and then things become inaccessible. So a few things I wanted to mention about my Japanese Skimmia, or Skimmia Japonica. It's native to Asia, obviously from the name, around the Japan region. It's hardy in zones 6 to 8, so it is an evergreen shrub. So you have this beautiful broadleaf interest all winter long. It can form berries as well. So they form these beautiful bright red berries if you have a male and female. I'm not sure about my variety. I believe it is a dwarf, but that's all I know. And one important thing is the leaves can scorch in the sun. So it is definitely a shade or part shade plant. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. It is a great option for a shady garden or a woodland garden. And actually, if I wasn't going to put it up in front because of the fragrance under the covered porch, I have so many shady spots in my backyard where it would do amazing. So I highly recommend this shrub just for the fragrance. I think it's definitely something that if you have a shady garden, think about getting. It seems like a wonderful plant. So thanks for joining me as I transplanted the Skimmia and hopefully saved this plant from destruction at a property where it was going to just be destroyed. So let's see how it goes. It does have some new growth on it, so I'm optimistic. And it's the first season, and I think next year will really be telling for it if it kind of bounces back from this transplant shock. Thanks so much, and I hope you enjoy your week. Bye now.